And Hims and Roman were like, and I think this is something that Harry's did too, and nobody really talks about. They're like, they raised a lot of money initially, but at some point they're like, the music is going to stop. We need to raise money, be financially independent, and worry about EBITDA in a way that we didn't have to in 2019. Yeah. And I think other businesses have gotten that message as well. Like, I don't see, like, what's a great example is like Cuts. Like when I think about Cuts, there's this, I saw a tweet and like I saw an article that basically said Aloe Yoga is raising money now. Cuts has been bootstrapped. They've been worried about profitability, and they're like, we will sacrifice growth to maintain to maintain a level of control of the business and to not risk the business and say, hey, if we can't fundraise, we're going to go out of business. And that's what SmileDirectClub did. So in 2023, this year, they're like, we need to raise money. And so they talk about it. They said, we talked to 61 lenders to try and get more money. 61 lenders are capital or like equity providers. Somebody give us cash. 25 of those people signed an NDA. They got one proposal out of those 25, and they're like, this isn't going to be enough to save the business. So they had to go bankrupt.
Wow. It didn't mention anywhere what their acquisition cost was, did they?
It didn't no, it didn't. I'm sure they cut marketing spend. And I bet the answer is it probably did, and I just didn't look at it because I looked at their bankruptcy docs and not their 10K.
Yeah. I worked with a company back in the day called, it used to be called Uniform Teeth. Now it's called Impress. And the idea was the same thing. It was like, there's Invisalign or there's SmileDirectClub. But the problem with SmileDirectClub is the imaging of your teeth is not always accurate. And so it can actually be very bad to use SmileDirect products.
Wow.
And so this company kind of sat in the middle. They were like, we're going to get real orthodontics, but we're not going to do all the orthodontic stuff.
Yeah.
You just come in, we're going to image your teeth. We have all this technology to get the perfect image. And then we're going to ship you the best aligners. And their biggest their biggest challenge was always like, you have to first put awareness in the market, then you have to get a lead, and then you have to get the lead qualified through insurance, and then you have to get somebody to commit to an appointment, and then the show rate's about 50%, and then you get 50% of those people who show to convert. And so it's like by the end of, if you have 10 people who start, you've got one person at the end who's like, I'm going to buy. And it's a very challenging business. And
I bet those 10 people to start each cost you $150 because not everyone wants this. And it's super like expensive, right? And insurance often doesn't cover it. And like, not everyone's in the, like, it's so hard. I can understand that funnel being really difficult. Like I can understand why you'd need a lot of capital because your acquisition cost, look, you have an AOV of $3,000 or $2,000. Your acquisition costs aren't going to be $50. Otherwise everyone's going to be in it.
Yeah. It's the real winner is probably the company that made the aligners and just produced them. And distributed it to all of these other companies. Yeah.
In 2016, SmileDirectClub started making the aligners in-house. But, what they actually started doing is they also started talking to dentists and being like, look, you don't, instead of referring to an orthodontist, refer to us and you'll get an affiliate fee.
Yeah.
And so they started working with a lot of dentists. But even then, like, I do think the acquisition cost is really high. And I also think that, like, at some point, the newness of it, like, wears off a little bit. And, like, if you're like, a 14-year-old kid now, your parents are probably like, I thought about this. I could give you SmileDirectClub, but you're 14 years old. I'd rather have somebody I can talk to. Yeah. Like as an adult, I'm like, okay, if I'm having a problem, I can voice my concern. I know what the problem is. I'm gonna go. I can figure out how serious it is and solve it. If my son was 12 years old and needed aligners, or 8 years old and needed braces,
yeah, totally.
I'd probably just extra. Yeah, exactly. I'd pay a little bit extra and be like, let's make sure I do this right. And so I think a little bit of it's probably just like the older people who are not adopting it, adopted it, and there were a lot of exits in this space too. Like it wasn't like there was Candid Smile. Like there were a lot of other companies doing this.
There's also a lot of smaller companies that started that do the same thing, but they just raised very little money. And they basically just took market share from these guys. They were doing all the advertising.
Definitely. Yes, they were doing all the advertising, bringing people into the space.
Yeah.